So today we're going to learn how to simplify radicals that you don't have a perfect square where you're able to take the square root of it and to get a whole number. So when simplifying radicals, you must know your perfect squares. So on the side, we have a place where you can write down your VIPs, which would be your very important perfect squares from 1 squared to 16 squared. So I'd like you to take a few minutes, pause the video, and fill in your perfect squares. Okay, so now we're going to learn how to simplify a perfect square. So example number 1, we want to simplify radical 18. So the first step we need to do is we need to find the largest perfect square that divides evenly into the number inside the radical and put him under the first radical sign. So basically we're going to take radical 18 and we're going to split it into two radicals where we're going to determine the largest perfect square factor of 18, and then the other factor would go underneath the other radical sign. So if I look at my perfect squares in my VIPs column, I see that 9 can divide evenly into 18 to give me 2. So the two factors of radical 18 could be radical 9 and radical 2, because 9 times 2 is 18. So I put the perfect square in the first radical, and I put his friend, the second factor, in the second radical. Now I'm going to take the square root of the first number and leave the second number in the square root. So now I'm going to take the square root of 9, which is 3, and then I'm going to bring down my square root of 2. So as long as the number that is underneath the radical sign doesn't have any other perfect square factors, you are done. So radical 18 simplifies to 3 radical 2. Let's move on to example number 2. So example number 2, I have radical 24. So I want to figure out two factors of 24, one of which is a perfect square, and I want to try to pick the largest one. So going through my chart, maybe I'll start from the largest and move up. So 256 wouldn't work. I need to find something that is 24 or smaller. So 4 would be the only perfect square factor of 24. So radical 24 can be broken down into radical 4 times radical 6. Then we'll take the square root of the perfect square. Square root of 4 is 2. I bring down my radical 6. And 6, the only factors of 6 are 2, 3, 6, and 1. So I know I can't break it down anymore. So this would be my simplified radical. Okay, next, number 3. So I have radical 16, radical 160. So I want to break this up into two radicals. Thinking of the factors of 160, I'm going to look at my perfect squares, and I see here we have 16. 16 times 10 would be 160. So I'm going to put 16 underneath my first radical, 10 underneath my second. I'm putting 16 first because that would be my perfect square. Now I take the square root of 16, which is 4, keep my radical 10 next to it, and now I'm going to make sure that radical 10 doesn't contain any other perfect squares, and it doesn't because the factors of 10 are 1, 2, 5, and 10. None of those are perfect squares. And looking at example number 4, we want to simplify radical 300. So radical 300 would be 100 times 3. So I'm going to break it up into radical 100 times radical 3. I take the square root of my perfect square, which is 10, and then I bring down my radical 3. Okay, so now I'd like you to do the practice problems and submit your answers on the Google slide, and then tomorrow I will post the answers so you can check your work. Okay, have a great day.